Hello, and welcome to Your Vote Counts, a public service program bringing local candidate interviews to you for the primary 2020 election. This is produced by Capital Community Television via remote technology in collaboration with the community groups of the American Association of University Women, League of Women Voters in both Marion and Polk counties, 4 neighborhood associations, and Salem City Club. For the nonpartisan contested races selected, all candidates were invited and all accepted. Candidates did not receive the questions that were developed by the sponsoring groups ahead of time. The candidates were asked to prepare a 3-minute opening statement telling about themselves, their qualifications, and a vision for the elected position. Hello, I'm Jan Margosian from Salem City Club, and I'd like to introduce Jan Kailuweit, candidate for Salem City Council, position number 1. Jan, would you like to begin your opening statement?
Thank you, Jan. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. When I talk to a new group of people I haven't met yet, I always start off by explaining my name, because it's a tricky one. So my name is Jan, and it's spelled just like yours, Jan. It's spelled Jan. It's pronounced Jan. My last name is a little trickier. It's pronounced Kailuweit. You did that great. Thank you. I was born and raised in Germany, and so I have a tricky name. I'd like to say, as a way of introduction, I am a very proud dad of a 10-year-old basketball player. My son lives here in Marion County with me and my wife, and he goes to one of the Salem Kaiser schools here. I am also married to a wonderful massage therapist, and we live downtown, and I've been here for 20 years. I work for the state of Oregon, just down the street. I've been working for the state for almost 15, 16 years. I currently work for the employment department. We're in high demand these days, if you follow the news. And specifically, I'm in the IT department. I manage the project management office. So I lead a team of project managers and business analysts. Like I said, I was born and raised in Germany. I've been here for just over 20 years. I'm very proud to become a US citizen in 2005. So it's been 15 years, and what a fun ride. I have traveled all around the world for quite a few years. I've lived in many countries, I think 28 at last count, but I eventually settled in Oregon. And one of the things that I felt when I moved here is I wasn't quite sure where I belonged. I've been in so many places, had seen so many great things, but in my heart, it all started when somebody asked me one day where I was from, and I couldn't answer the question. And I was at home later thinking, that was really awkward. Why can't I tell them? Because I'd been in so many places and had so many fun experiences. And that's when I decided I want to be truly local in Oregon. And so that's when I decided to become a citizen. And that's when I decided to go to the neighborhood association meetings. My neighborhood is Grand. I ended up on the board of the Grand Neighborhood Association for about 8 years or so. And then I wanted to do something that goes beyond the neighborhood a little bit. And one of the councils at the time asked if I'd be willing to serve on the library advisory board. And I did that until an opening came up on the budget committee. And at the time, Mayor Bennett was city councilor for our ward, and he asked if I'd be willing to serve there. So I applied, interviewed, and then served on the board there for 7 years. When that was over, I wanted to do something outside the city for a little bit, and I served on a board with the county, and that was the Marion County Compensation Board. That's a board that makes recommendations to the budget committee on compensation for the elected officials, like the district attorney and the elections clerk and those sorts of people. So that's sort of my involvement. One of my little secrets is, well, it's not a secret anymore, because I'm about to tell you, I have a twin brother who does not look like me at all, and he lives back in Germany, along with all the rest of my family. I guess I am the runaway. I also wanted to say my education, I have a master's degree in management. And I have a few certifications that I use at work. One of them is for Myers-Briggs. One of them is for organizational change management. And then I have a certification for project management. So this is what I bring to the table.
Very good. We appreciate that information. And now we'd like to give you an opportunity to address some of the questions and topics of concern from the community.
Excellent.
The first question I'd like to ask, many residents do not understand the role that council persons play in our lives. Why should residents or voters be interested in this race?
That's a good question, Jan. In fact, I meet many people who don't know that Salem is split into wards and how that works. And I explain to them that Salem is split into 8 wards and they're regional. So they're not all at large like some of the other cities in Oregon. And that is an attempt to bring some fairness into the organization. But so there are 8 city councilors. Ward 1, where I reside, is downtown and the adjacent areas, going up to Pine Street, and includes the library and the hospital, and then goes east about 23rd Street and a sliver of West Salem. That is Ward 1. And yeah, so it's like a board of an organization. It gives direction, gives strategic direction, but the city council only hires one person, and that is the city manager. The city manager does all the day-to-day running of the city, but the city council gives strategic direction, and there are several instances where citizens can appeal to city council when they disagree with a decision that was made or have a concern.
Very clear. Many people wanted to know about the homeless, and they wondered about the direction that you might go as a city councilor, taking into consideration the business concerns and public safety.
That is a very current concern that obviously many people have who've been through downtown recently. Thank you for asking that. So I just want to state at the beginning that the city of Salem the city staff have very little expertise in public health. That is not traditionally a role that the city has played. The county has some expertise there, and definitely the state, like the Oregon Health Authority. So I say that because I wanted to say the city has little expertise to, say, run a mental health hospital or do any work in addiction recovery or some of the things that drive people into homelessness or just living on the street. What I think the city can do is be like the spider in the spider web, where all the key players and all the stakeholders come together. I believe the city can be at the hub as a collaborator and maybe use some of its authority to bring direction. And when I'm talking stakeholders, I'm thinking of people like Marion County, their health department. I'm thinking of the Oregon Health Authority, but I'm also thinking about nonprofits that we have, groups like Catholic Services, Arches, some of those groups. We also have quite a few churches in the faith community who do some outreach, whether it is for warming shelters or to provide blankets or to provide food. And what I would like the city do is be the hub that brings those people together, that there's coordination. I myself have seen many very engaged volunteers go out and just drop off food next to somebody who might be sleeping on the sidewalk, or hygiene packets. But it's not always in a coordinated event with groups like Arches, who I would like to see closer in the center of this sort of activity.
Thank you. One of the other areas where many voters and residents of Salem are interested in is climate change. And they're wondering if you think we need a climate action plan.
That is another excellent question, Jan. So let me just tell you about me personally. I believe we all need to contribute to preserving the environment, especially in a state like Oregon, which is so known for its beautiful outdoors. And frankly, that's why many of us are drawn to Salem, because of the location between the mountains and the beaches. And so, yes, we need to preserve that. Definitely, there's no doubt. One of the reasons I moved to downtown is to cut back on my contribution to the climate disaster that we're facing in some parts. Um, I walk to work. I am glad to let you know I do not. I do have a car in my garage. I use it very rarely. I like the time that I have by being able to quickly walk to work, not having to commute for half hour or an hour. But there are lots of things that we can do. What I am a little bit concerned about is I would love to see some coordination between the city or cities and the state. I know there's a plan that the state has for climate action too. And I'd be a little hesitant for the city to go down on a road by themselves, only having to make corrections like we did with the plastic bag ban, which we had to undo a couple months later because the legislature already was working on a plastic bag ban. So yes, I'm all for it. I would love to see some close coordination with the legislature, though.
Thank you. One of the elements discussed in the updating of the Salem Comprehension Plan is what they call complete neighborhoods. Can you explain or describe what that means to you?
Yeah, to me, the way we make a big or ever growing city feel small is by splitting the city into neighborhoods, right? In Ward 1, we have the Grand Neighborhood, we have Nen, and we have Can Do. And those smaller groups are an attempt to make a big city feel small. It provides a sense of belonging to citizens and provides a sense of community. I am very much in favor of that. I believe it means that we're providing cohesion where neighbors meet each other, they look out for each other, they provide community for each other, and the kind of thing that makes us want to live here and be proud to live here. Um, One of the things I'm not so big on is all the driving we do, that I have to drive across town to a grocery store, across town to all the errands I may have to run. To me, what I'd like to see is the ability to maybe walk to some of those engagements that I have, whether that's school or work or grocery shopping. And I believe we can accomplish that even in a big city.
Intriguing. Assuming that there might be cuts in revenue and increases in needs, tell us your financial priorities for the city budget.
Thank you. Um, So I believe at the very core of city government is public safety and infrastructure. Infrastructure being things like water, sewer, electric, gas, roads, bridges, sidewalks. That all to me is part of infrastructure. The kind of things we need to have in place to make this a livable, just physically livable place. The kind of thing that every family needs, every household, every small business, every office. The other part that I believe is core to city services is public safety. That is police and fire. I believe between public safety and infrastructure, that should occupy 90% of our time. That is at the core of it. And to me, I always think of the way I budget my household finances, right? So at the core of my household finances is rent or mortgage, is food, insurance, the things I have to have in place for my family. And then there are disposable things, fun things, good things, but not essential, like Hulu or Netflix or going out to eat or going to the movies or going camping. And what I would like the city to do in its budgeting is put public safety and infrastructure back at the very core of our budget and the core of the attention.
Let's talk a little bit about traffic. You talked a little bit about it, but What are your ideas about congestion and the defeat of the Salem River crossing proposal?
Thank you. Yeah, yes, that was a heartbreaking decision when that process was stopped. So because I work downtown and I live downtown, I witness the traffic every single day. I can see Summer Street from my living room window, and when traffic backs up on Summer Street, which then feeds into Marion Street, which tries to get across the bridge, I know we have blocks and blocks of traffic that's standing still. And these days, I see that more and more. As I'm sitting at home at dinner, I see traffic back up down Summer Street all the way to D or a little beyond, or at least slow moving, not total standstill. But I know in Marion Street, it's at the standstill because occasionally I just walk down the block and check it out. And there it is. And sometimes traffic between the bridge and the Safeway, that's 10 blocks of still standing traffic. And sometimes you have to sit there through 3 or 4 intervals until a light finally turns green for you and you can move to the next block and then you sit there. So yes, I have noticed that traffic has increased. Jan, I want to say I've moved here in 99. And in 99, there were about 140 some thousand people in Salem. Projections are that another 35,000 will move here, or sorry, another 60,000 will move here by 2035. So that's in a few 15 years. That's 100,000 increase in citizens without much infrastructure improvement. It's the same 2 old bridges that we had with 140,000, we'll have with 240,000. And I think this is what we're witnessing when traffic is at a standstill. I do believe we need another bridge across the Willamette River. I believe citizens have asked for it. I brought a little goodie here to show. This is the Salem 2020 plan. Those of us who lived here for a while remember that. This was an outreach event from the city to citizens back in 2008. And one of the top 24 goals that citizens identified was the need for another bridge. And that's when the Willamette River Crossing Project was established, and a whole host of public meetings and forums and questionnaires and surveys. And I believe the city made good progress towards citing a location, fulfilling all its legal obligations with environmental impact studies and traffic studies and all that, until that fateful day last year when a majority of city council voted down any progress. I believe that was a mistake. And if I'm on council, I will very much try to reestablish that process.
Well, thank you, Jan, for our interview today and sharing your thoughts. Thanks to Capital Community Television for the extensive efforts to make this program happen. And thanks to you, the public, for watching in order to become an informed voter. If you have recently moved or need to register to vote, you have until April 28th to do so. Ballots will be mailed out beginning April 29th. Remember this, and remember to vote, because your vote counts.